It was a late autumn night in 2022. At my family's house in a quiet suburban neighborhood in Chicago, Illinois. After a long day at work and school, my whole family, Dad, Mom, me, Sarah Chen, whose name has been changed, and my two younger siblings, went out for dinner together. As we drove home, the skies suddenly darkened, and the first raindrops began to fall. The wind blew hard, making the trees sway violently. We got home just before the heavy rain started pouring down. We quickly ran inside, slamming the door shut, feeling safe and secure in the warm, dry space, a complete contrast to the storm raging outside. The sound of rain pounding against the windows, wind whistling through the gaps, and thunder echoing continuously created a chaotic symphony of nature. My whole family changed clothes, getting ready for bed. Dad and Mom were sitting in the living room, while my siblings were playing on the floor. I went up to my room on the second floor, lay on the bed, scrolling on my phone. As everything was slowly sinking into the quietness of the night, suddenly, a jarring sound echoed, breaking the peace. The doorbell. Ding! Dong! We all froze simultaneously. Who would be ringing the doorbell at this hour, in a storm like this? My father looked towards the main door, his face full of confusion. Who could that be? He muttered. Who would come at this hour? Dad? My mother asked, her voice slightly worried. My father turned to look at me. Sarah, go check the camera and see who it is, he said. As a girl, I was particularly wary of intruders or extortionists, especially at night and when home alone, or with just women and children. Checking the security camera before opening the door was my habit. Okay, I replied, though I felt a bit uneasy inside. I went to the security camera monitor installed in the living room, where we could see the front door. My heart pounded in my chest. Who was standing out there? A neighbor in trouble? Or a stranger? I looked at the black and white screen of the camera. The screen showed the image of the front porch. And then, I saw a figure, a man, standing right in front of my house's main door. Under the pouring rain, the late-night visitor had appeared. But I didn't know that the most terrifying sight was just beginning. The knocker from the void had arrived. I stared intently at the security camera monitor, which showed the image of the man standing under the pouring rain in front of my house. He stood there, motionless. The rain drenched him, making his clothes cling to his body. He was a man of average build, wearing dark clothes. An old baseball cap covered most of his head. But the most terrifying thing was his face. He was looking directly at the camera, looking directly at my house. But where his face should have been, there was nothing. No eyes, no nose, no mouth, just a smooth patch of skin. Or a terrifying void, where a face should be. A man with no face. I froze in horror. My heart felt like it stopped beating. I couldn't breathe. The horrifying sight on the camera screen made me feel like I was watching a horror movie. But it was real. It was happening right in front of my house. I was fixated on the image of the faceless man, not daring to look away. He still stood there, motionless, under the pouring rain, even though he had no eyes. I felt as if he was looking straight at me, seeing through the camera, seeing through the wall, seeing straight into my soul. A sudden cold draft enveloped me, colder than the air inside the house, colder than the storm outside. The cold was very different, very deep, as if it penetrated my bones. It was the cold of an evil presence. I wanted to scream, to run, but my body was paralyzed. I stood there, staring at the man with no face, haunted by the terrifying emptiness where his face should be. Then, Something more terrifying happened. As I was staring at the screen, the faceless man suddenly vanished. He didn't turn and walk away. He didn't step out of frame. He simply was no longer there, as if he had never existed. A moment before, he was standing there in the pouring rain. A moment later, he had completely disappeared from the camera frame. I let out a small gasp. My voice trembling, I stared at the empty screen, unable to believe what I had just witnessed. A man with no face. And he had vanished into thin air. The horrifying sight on the camera screen was real. It wasn't a dream. I knew my family was facing something supernatural. Something evil. The late-night visitor wasn't a normal person. He was a ghost. The faceless ghost had come to my house. And I had seen him on camera. I let out a horrified gasp. Trembling all over, I turned around, rushed out of the living room, running to where my parents and siblings were. "Dad, Mom," I screamed, my voice full of panic and fear. There's something outside." My parents and siblings jumped, looking at me. Their faces were full of confusion. I ran to my parents, trying to tell them what I had just seen on the camera. But my words were stuttered, barely getting out. There's a man. He has no face." I stuttered, tears streaming down my face. And he vanished." My parents looked at each other, then at me. They thought I was hallucinating due to fear of the storm. "Calm down, darling," my mother said softly, hugging me. "Are you sure you're not mistaken? Maybe it was the light or the camera was glitching?" "No, it wasn't," I said, firmly. "I saw it clearly. He had no face. And he vanished." My father stared at me, his face full of thought. He knew I wasn't easily scared for no reason. Did you record it?" my father asked, his voice serious. I suddenly remembered. Our security camera had automatic recording when it detected motion. "Yes, it recorded," I said. "It recorded everything." My father quickly went to the security camera monitor. He operated the screen, looking for the footage recorded when the doorbell rang. I stood beside my father, my heart pounding, staring at the screen. My mother and siblings also stood nearby, full of worry. My father found the footage. He pressed the playback button. The black and white footage began to play. The image of the front porch under the pouring rain. The doorbell rang, and then, the image of the man appeared. He stood there, under the pouring rain, his back to the camera. Then, he slowly turned around, and his face appeared. There was nothing. My whole family gasped simultaneously in horror. The empty, terrifying face, clearly visible on the camera screen. We stared at the horrifying sight. The man with no face stood there for a few seconds. Then, he vanished, simply vanished from the frame. My father stopped the footage. His face was pale. My mother covered her mouth, her eyes wide with fear. My younger siblings started crying. Undeniable evidence. The security camera had recorded everything. The man with no face was real. And he had come to our house. The truth from the camera was undeniable evidence of the existence of something supernatural. Something evil. We knew that night would be a long one. We didn't know who he was, what he wanted, why he had appeared in front of our house. Only fear enveloped the whole family. We spent a night calling out to God. None of us could sleep. After the terrifying night with the appearance of the faceless man on the security camera, my family's life was never the same. Fear and haunting enveloped us. We rewatched the camera footage many times, trying to find a logical explanation. We considered every possibility: technical malfunction, trick of the light, someone playing a prank, but no explanation made sense. The image of the faceless man and his sudden disappearance was scientifically inexplicable. We talked about it a lot. My parents tried to stay calm in front of my younger siblings. But I knew they were as scared as I was. My siblings didn't understand what was happening. Only that their parents and older sister were very frightened. We lived in constant anxiety. My father reinforced the security system around the house. We always kept the doors and windows locked, not daring to open the door to any stranger at night. I, in particular, was haunted by that footage. The image of the faceless man, the terrifying emptiness where his face should have been, was always in my mind. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that scene. I frequently checked the security camera monitor. Looking out at the front porch, I only saw the normal porch, but I always felt as if he could appear at any moment. A month passed in fear and haunting. We tried to return to normal life, but it was difficult knowing that something terrifying had appeared in front of our house. The storm that night had passed, but the haunting remained. We tried not to talk about this with outsiders. We were afraid they wouldn't believe us, or would think we were crazy. We only shared this fear within the family. Then, one night, about a month after the first incident, it started raining again. Another storm, not as big as the previous one, but enough to create wind and rain. We, the whole family, were downstairs. Mom and Dad were watching the news. My siblings were playing cards. The atmosphere in the house was warm and familiar. As everything was slowly settling into the quietness of the night, I suddenly felt a strange unease. A familiar cold feeling crept into me again. And then, that sound echoed again. Ding! Dong! The doorbell. At this hour, in the rainy night, my whole family froze simultaneously. We looked at each other, our faces full of horror. It was happening again. The late-night visitor, the knocker from the void, had returned. My father and I immediately went to the security camera monitor, our hearts pounding in our chests. I knew I was about to see that sight again. The haunting from the camera screen had returned, and we didn't know what he wanted this time. The doorbell rang again, shattering the peace of the rainy night. My father and I stood in front of the security camera monitor, our hearts pounding. We knew that the knocker from the void had returned. My father operated the screen, switching to the live feed from the front camera. My mother and siblings stood behind, full of worry. The screen showed the image of the front porch under the pouring rain. The rain was still falling, making the image a bit blurry. We stared at the screen, holding our breath, and then, he appeared, the man with no face. This time, he was already standing there. He stood still right in front of the main door, facing the camera. The terrifying emptiness where his face should have been was clearly visible on the screen again. We all gasped simultaneously. He stood there, under the pouring rain, motionless, just like the last time. Even though he had no eyes, I felt as if he was looking straight at us. Seeing through the camera, seeing through the wall, a deep cold radiated from the image on the screen, as if that cold could penetrate the screen and engulf us. He stood there for a few seconds, perhaps a little longer than the last time. We stared at him, unable to move. Then, he vanished again, vanished from the camera frame, as if he had never existed. We stood there, looking at the empty screen, trembling all over. It was real. He had returned. After a month, on another rainy night, the knocker from the void had reappeared. My father rewound the recorded footage. The footage showed the empty front porch. Then the doorbell rang. And then, the image of the faceless man suddenly appeared. He stood there for a few seconds, then vanished. My mother burst into tears. My younger siblings also cried. My father hugged my mother and siblings, his face full of fear and determination. What is he, Dad? I asked softly, my voice trembling. My father didn't answer. He didn't know either. We knew this wasn't a coincidence. The reappearance of the nightmare was real. The man with no face was targeting my family. But why? What did he want? Who was he? We had no answers. Only fear enveloped us. His invisible gaze, even without a face, seemed to be watching us. We spent a night calling out to God. None of us could sleep. We knew that my family's life would never be normal again. The reappearance of the faceless man on the security camera confirmed that my family's nightmare was real and it was not over. After that night, our fear grew stronger. We knew that he appeared on stormy nights. What did that mean? Perhaps the storm somehow created the conditions for him to appear? Or perhaps he was an entity related to the weather? We lived in constant anxiety whenever it rained. Especially at night. Every doorbell ring on a rainy night made our hearts jump. My father researched a lot about ghost stories related to unwanted visitors, entities appearing on security cameras, and faceless beings. He searched online, in books and articles, and on forums about paranormal phenomena. He found some notable stories about entities called faceless men, or empty ones, appearing in various places around the world, often related to tragic events or haunted locations. However, none of the stories explained why he appeared in front of our house and why he was targeting my family. We lived in constant vigilance. Every time it rained at night, we would stay awake, staring at the security camera monitor, waiting, and sometimes, he would appear again. Not every rainy night, but occasionally. On stormy nights, the doorbell would ring, and the image of the faceless man would appear on the camera screen again. He would always stand there for a few seconds, looking straight at the camera, then vanish. He didn't do anything else. He simply appeared, but that appearance was enough to make us live in fear. We didn't know what he wanted. Perhaps he just wanted to scare us? Or perhaps he was waiting for something? Or perhaps his appearance was a warning about something about to happen? The danger lurking over my family is real. We tried to contact paranormal experts, but they were hesitant or didn't believe our story. We were trapped in our own home, haunted by the faceless man and the fear that he could appear at any moment. He's there every night, at least in our minds. Whenever it rains, the endless darkness enveloped my family. We knew we would never be able to completely escape this. He had looked straight at us. He had come to our house. The warning from the darkness had been given. The faceless man is real. He is out there, and he chose my family. If you enjoyed these true horror stories, or stories based on accounts and unexplained phenomena, like this, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on the channel to follow our latest videos. We will bring you more terrifying and haunting stories. Thank you for listening.